you wait to buy your real estate or sell your real estate until after the presidential election? Well, friends, I want to talk to you a little bit about the pros and cons of what's going on in the market when you take everything into consideration. The first thing you should remember is the most important thing about real estate. So dial into me here for just a second. Real estate is a long-term play. When you buy real estate, you should be buying it for the long haul. And I mean that primary residence. I know some of y'all have been buying and selling and making some money because the markets ran up pretty hot during the COVID era. And then you add on to your family and make all these life changes. Maybe you get a promotion at work. There's lots of reasons people buy and sell. But the reality is you shouldn't live in a house 2 or 3 years. Just tell you what it is. When I'm talking to a first-time buyer in specific, I remind them it's got to be a 3 to 5 year minimum. And that's assuming that everything stays hunky-dory in the markets. But over time, markets do this. They chunka. Now, you can look at the long haul. Real estate goes up over the long haul. And that's what I want you to think about. This is not the car that depreciates when you drive it off the lot. This is not your Apple Watch, which starts to run out of battery when Apple releases a new version. And we know they do it on purpose. Your house isn't going to do that. But what you invest in, it should help it increase over time. And you should see your savings increase at the same time. Now, when you consider the long haul, I want you to know about something that happens in building a stock portfolio. And yes, I'm going to show my old Wall Street brain here. But there is a theory behind investing that's called dollar cost averaging. And if you've never really paid attention to that, a lot of you participate in it through your mutual funds. When you're buying into your 401k and you make a deposit every single paycheck, you're buying shares of that mutual fund. Even if the market's down, you're buying. When the market's up, you're buying. And you don't even think about it because you have yourself in that disciplinary habit to build your savings over time. But what we know is that over the long haul, dollar cost averaging means that sometimes when you buy, it's up and sometimes when you buy, it's down. But over time, it winds up averaging up. If you stop and look at a snapshot day to day, you would throw up if you saw the volatility in the market. And frankly, the same thing can happen with your real estate. If you bought your house today and then 12 months from now the market has a hiccup, you might feel awful. But if you bought that same house in 2011 when the markets were still in the heart and soul of the Great Recession before we army crawled our way out, you would look at this and say, I am up so far based on 2011 because even after 11 it went down and then up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, cha-choom. So I want you to think about that, and that should help you get your mind right before you consider what's happening with presidential politics. Because reality is this, we have a presidential election every 4 years, and every 4 years people get into this whole wait and see mode. And there's a lot of reasons that you should absolutely pay attention and ask lots and lots of policy questions, but we all know that when buyers pull back, sellers who need to sell get a little bit anxious. So it's entirely possible that right now is one of your best negotiating moments from the last few years. You will find many sellers in the market are open to negotiations right now where they weren't several months ago, and frankly, where they might not be based on the outcome in November. So if the markets do heat back up and you find yourself back in the world of nasty bidding wars, are you going to wish you'd bought right now instead of waiting for an unknown future? This is when you start reminding yourself, if over the long haul things go up, and now is a moment where I can negotiate, then it becomes a factor of whether or not the numbers work for you. And the price isn't your consideration. The interest rates aren't your consideration. Friends, look at the monthly payment. Can you handle the principal and interest and the property taxes and the insurance? Pay attention to the insurance and provide a little buffer for yourself because the taxes and insurance are likely to go up over time. And I have a video over here you should watch about that. But if that monthly nut is something you can handle, then why not dive in, get the house, and remind yourself that if people on average are now staying in their houses close to 13 years, maybe that would be you. And the last thing I'll remind you of is this. Yes, interest rates matter. They're not going back to 3%. That era was unreal with the free money, and we can't afford for it to go back. Otherwise, inflation will take us to places we've never seen and don't need to see again. Prices, if they come down, it's because people have lost jobs and are losing homes. And I don't wish that on our country. I don't wish it on anyone. But we are seeing a little bit of softening as people negotiate. So take all that into consideration. But look at your situation. Look at your numbers. take your eye off that box on the wall, and call your local realtor, because I help you walk through all the options. There's no pressure except for pressure you put on yourself. So take a load off, think about it, and make a great decision. Anywhere in North and South Carolina, call me. Outside of that, still call me, because I got friends.